Okay, and welcome back to the show. Today's show is titled Modulation. And why modulation? Especially since that is pretty well a technical sound kind of person kind of term. And basically what I'm getting at is, are you being heard? Are you being heard the right way? Are you projecting yourself the way your audience wants to hear you? I know if you're listening to this show by now, everybody's got to have a great message that needs to get out into the world that's going to touch lots of lives. And hey, I'll be honest with you, I want to get you onto our show. I want to get you into our network because some of you out there need to have your own podcasts, and that's part of what we're doing here. Is we're building a whole internet radio station where there'll be hundreds and hundreds of shows that if you have a message, we can line you up with the right shows so that your message gets to the right group of people. This is about audience. Okay, so let me explain the term modulation. Modulation is when you're watching the little LED lights go back and forth when you're playing music or something. That's your modulation. What your levels are going to be, right? And honestly, depending on your audience, from a technical point of view, if you're modulating too many times into the red, you're turning off your audience because either it hurts their ears or you're just being plain annoying to them because you're too damn loud. They can't turn you down. So they just won't tune into you. And if they're not tuning into you, that means they're not listening. And we know that your message is going to touch lives, change lives, and make people better. We know that. And with all that being said, so you have to adjust your modulation so that you are attractive to your audience. So the other day, and this episode will come out next week, I guess. I did an interview with a stunt lady, Lani Galera. She actually lives really close by me, and she, along with being a stunt lady of 18 years, and when I looked at her website, if you go to phoenixfallgirl.com, and Phoenix is spelled start over again. FENIXGIRL.com. Phoenix Fall Girl. If you go to her website, when it opens up, you see this. It looks like a movie trailer, and it hit me how many different movies I could have seen her in. I love movies, right? So I did the interview with her, and I had to get over some of my starstruckness because, hey, I've seen you on the big screen. You know, it happens to us, and she does like all these action films and like Marvel comics. She did this thing with the X-Men. I was like, hey, this is awesome. It's like I'm actually talking to somebody who actually played in the X-Men. It's like, and I went off on a tangent on that for a few seconds, as I just did right now. But moment's over, move on. So I recorded the interview, and it sounded really good in my headset and everything. And when I loaded it into my editing software, I realized that my the modulation on my voice, I missed something. I wasn't paying attention to the levels as closely as I should have. And I had to go fix it, so that my modulation and the modulation of her voice now match, so that you can hear everything. And that's the whole point. You want your audience to be able to hear everything, because they miss the tiniest of details. Maybe they don't make it to the apex of their life, the top point of their life that they really should get to, and they needed that one little detail to get them there, but your voice kind of faded out. And they couldn't quite hear what you said. So we got to make sure our modulation is the right way. The same thing could be true if you overmodulate, which means that you make your voice too loud. That somebody will miss the detail because you were too loud. It bugged their ears, and it did something that turned their brain off. It can happen. There's a lot of science behind building soundtracks and everything, and sound modulation goes hand in hand with clarity and everything else that goes in it. There's a lot of timing and things like that. Okay, so I want you to make sure that you are being heard by your audience. So it's all about your audience. This is not about building your podcast. Is not about you grandstanding over something, and no. Building your podcast is about giving information to your audience. Your audience is a group of people that need this information so that they can live extraordinary lives. And that's the whole point of building your podcast, is so that somebody else can live an extraordinary life based on something that you said, something that you gave as an example. And that's the whole point. You want to be podcasting to touch people's lives, not just to hear your voice out there. Okay, so modulation, sound quality, audience, it all has to match up so that your message gets deep inside their head, their heart, their soul, and your audience truly lives. And that's an amazing thing to have happen when somebody comes back to you and they quote your podcast back to you. I've had this happen while I'm on radio. That I'm in a room, never knew who was in the room, and they started talking about a radio show that they heard, an interview that they heard, information, and I turned and looked and I said, "You heard that?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, it's like it gives me something to live by." And all I could humbly do is say, "Thank you. That means a lot to me." And with that, then they realized that I was the radio host. I was the one who did the interview. I was the one who was delivering the message and the information. So, and that's what modulation is truly about, is making sure that the message is at the right volume, at the right setting, so that everybody hears it. All right. So we will talk to you another time. Thanks for listening, and we will talk to everybody else later on. Thank you for listening to Depictions Media Radio.